Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World for your Cardiff City versus Derby County preview. My apologies for being late. I was stuck on a BBC Radio Derby of all sorts from Cardiff. Just chatting to them about the game. Interesting show, listening to some of the insights on the Derby County side, which maybe I can share with you guys. Just a quick one. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you have. That helps us out a lot. And we'll talk about that. And if you'd like to become a member, then definitely do that. Every single member makes a massive difference. We've had a big influx of members and patrons join since Christmas. It's massive for us. It's absolutely massive, and allows us to produce content 7 days a week for you guys, talking all things Cardiff City. So it's certainly been an interesting few weeks, pretty since that Oxford game. I really feel like Cardiff have turned the corner in many ways. And I think Rhys has found a method and a tactical setup that he likes, and that he can interchange players as and when he needs to in the games. And then we also have that 3-4-2-1 to fall back on if we need to, for whatever reason, for that tactical flexibility. And one of the things I talked about in the video the other day was one of the things that has really impressed me with Rhys for such a young manager is that he's brave enough to make those tactical tweaks, make those big calls, and he's adaptable. And I think he's shown that in his short reign as Cardiff manager. Derby County are in a god-awful run of form, which you know what that usually means when they come to Cardiff. They put in a decent performance and they then go into a nice little run. But let's be honest, Cardiff unbeaten this year. And I know people will say, well, you've only won one and there's a lot of draws. The one game we won was a massive game, which we don't normally turn up to. And we've been quite unfortunate. I don't like using the term luck in football because you get what you put in ultimately. But we have been unlucky this season with late goals. And it was only actually when I went through that review of the season and review of Rhys's reign for the video the other day, that actually I realised how many late goals have turned wins into draws. And without those late goals conceded, we would have been way out of the relegation zone. So it is what it is. It's part of football. You've got to keep that concentration and not switch off at the end of games. But I think that Swansea performance was coming. We'd put in a few decent performances. It took us a little bit of time to get going against the Jacks, which is to be expected in a derby game. Is always going to be finding your feet a little bit. And actually, it was a tweak by Rhys that made a big difference in that. About sort of 25 minutes in, he slightly changed the pressing shape, and we were much more aggressive in the press. He gave not Robinson, who was it against Swansea? I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but the third, so you had Chambers and Rawls. Rawls sort of joined the press a little bit more. So you had Robertson, Rawls, and Robinson, and the wingers going and hunting down the ball. And from that moment of that little tweak, we were all over Swansea. I said it last year about the home game. There was never a point where I was concerned that Swansea were going to win the game or get back into the game. This year, or Saturday just gone, was pretty much the same. Once we scored one, I thought at one point they were going to fall apart and we might go on and get 4 or 5. But look, we created chances. We could have scored more. The Millwall game, I think, was a result of some rotations, which were, we had talked about the need to make rotations because it's 2 days between the games. But actually, he only made one rotation. The others were all enforced through illness and injury and knocks. But unfortunately, Periengi, Ruben Colwell, who else started, Willock, they haven't played a lot of football recently, which means it took them a bit of time to get going. And I thought, look, to go 2-0 down away from home against a Millwall team who defensively are mean, don't score a great deal of goals, you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be, and we don't score a load of goals really. You're thinking, Jesus, this is going to be hard to get back into this game. And a superb goal by Willock, which then allowed him to then play much, much better in that second half. And show, actually. He took a bit of responsibility and tried to make things happen, which was good to see because he was confident. But he scores a great goal. Salic shows incredible mentality to miss a big easy chance, but not let it bother him, and then go. El Ghazi comes on, looks motivated, fit, sharp. Probably his best little cameo in a City shirt. He looked real dangerous. Set up, I think, 2 or 3 chances in that game. Perry NG still a bit rusty on the ball, but actually looked bang up for it. Determination, intensity. He makes the goal happen by winning it back on the edge of the box. So, yes, Millwall was poor. Yes, Millwall, the team Millwall were shite, and I can't quite believe that we were 2-0 down. But we also showed tremendous character and tremendous togetherness, which has been a theme. There was glimpses of it at different times, as I talked about in the other video, in certain games. There was a Coventry game on the back of some bad performances that we really showed some character. So it was coming. That togetherness is 100% there in the squad now. Yes, there's 1 or 2 who maybe aren't on board. Will they still be here at the end of January? That remains to be seen. It's going to be interesting. But right, as is tradition, we obviously look at Derby County first. But looking at Derby County's form, you're looking at it and you're thinking, Cardiff City absolutely must win this fixture. Derby County have lost their last 5 on the bounce. They've lost the last 6 in all competitions. They've lost the last 5 in the Championship. They brought in Ruben Sellers as manager, highly rated young manager, good, was very strongly linked with Cardiff. I know we spoke to him at least once, possibly a couple of times when we were looking for a manager. So it's one of them. He will probably, on a personal level, would like to make a bit of a point. But most importantly, Derby County are 1 place below us in the table. So a victory for Cardiff here not only moves us away from the relegation zone, hopefully, if Hull, Luton, Plymouth results go for us, but it takes us through. Will put us 4 points between us and Derby County. So you've got 4 points at least between those teams, and then there's already a 2-point gap between us and Hull and Luton. So if they were to lose and we were to win, that makes that bigger again as well. So it is a really important game. It's not like do or die, must win. If you lose this, you're going down. But it's going to make a big difference. I believe that there's 3 worse teams in this league than us. I believe that the league table doesn't lie, but I also believe that Cardiff City, with the squad they have, should not be 20th in this league. But we are. So we have to address that. And I think with the fixtures coming up, there's some winnable. All games in the Championship are winnable, but they're also losable. It's just the way of the league. But if we can extend this unbeaten run and turn it into a winning run now, then we'll pull away from the Championship, and then we'll just see what happens. But let's look at this Derby County side and the way we think they'll line up. They've got a lot of defensive injuries, which is another reason why I think Cardiff must start fast, must be aggressive in the way they set up, in the way we press. We must get at this Derby team because the run that they're on, the defensive injuries that they have, if we get an early goal or 2, they will crumble. They will fall apart. And also, on the other side of that, in the attacking areas, they do have some players. I think I said Ruben Sellers, Paul Warren. I don't know what I'm on about. It's been a long day of several radio shows. I apologise. But Derby County do have some players in the attacking areas that can do some damage. Mendes Lang in that sort of left inside pocket, that's an area that worries me, particularly if Omar brings back in Perry NG on it at the right back, because I thought Rinamoto did look tired on Tuesday. So there's a possibility he brings in NG, and then NG's got to be at it. We can't have those lapses in concentration because Mendes Lang on that inside left side will do some damage. We know what he's capable of on his best days. He's been in great form for Derby, so it's going to be interesting. Another area which they may be where we can get at them is Ebo Adams playing really out of position in a back three. So they tend to play a 3-5-2, and they'll have Zetterstrom in goal, and then you'll have the way they lined up against Sunderland. I don't think they've got any of their central defenders back. So I expect it'll be Ebo Adams, Forsyth, and Elder. It's a serviceable defence. It's not a very strong defence. They've got a lot of players out, including Nat Phillips. Cardiff have got to exploit that. And I actually believe that if we line up in the way we have been doing in that sort of 4-2-3-1 with a nice solid double pivot, and we release the wide players and we release the attacking players, that we can really get at them down the sides. Like, for me, if Ollie Tanner's fit, and I play him probably on the left, or El Ghazi, because I believe El Ghazi or Tanner, one-on-one with Ebo Adams on Derby's right, our left, can be a real source of creativity and chance creation for us. Then they'll right wing back Jackson, left wing back Wilson. I think they go with Thompson, Goodman, and Harness. I really like Goodman. He's a really good footballer. So he's someone that we'll need to keep an eye on. It's a solid three. I think Goodman and Harness are decent. So you need to be at it. Midfield is where games are won ultimately. There's a possibility they might play Osborne in that where Thompson plays, but I believe that it'll be that three: Thompson, Goodman, and Harness. Wilson left, Jackson right, and then you'll have the Yates and Mendes-Lang up top. They've got a young player called Corey Blackett-Taylor. Very highly rated, very skillful, very good footballer, very good attacking player. Bang out of form, he's got apparently struggling with confidence a little bit. Not so sure about his form, but he's struggling with confidence. But he's very, very talented footballer. And it'll be interesting whether maybe he comes in for Yates or Mendes-Lang. I don't think he will. I think he'll come off the bench. But you never know. In terms of the player to watch for Derby, there's a couple in the attacking areas. Goodman, as I say, is good. Harness. Jackson on that right-hand side as well. Mendes-Lang and Yates. I'm going to go with Mendes-Lang. We know what he can do on his best days. And following some off-the-field issues and stuff that he had at the end of his Cardiff career, I'm really happy to say that he's turned it around and he's got his head down and he seems to be super happy at Derby. But also he's found his form. Apologies, Lewis. I said got confused, mate. It's because I was talking Hull earlier. I apologise. Disgraceful. So Mendes-Lang's my one to watch because I do feel that he can do some damage to us. He knows the area, knows the city, knows the pitch, knows the stadium. If we give him space, he's very direct, very skillful, very pacey. So we've got to be on our toes and make sure that everyone individually does their jobs correctly. So this is where I think people are going to disagree with me completely, but it's all about opinions. So we used to do in the previews, we used to go with what we thought the manager would go with rather than what we think we should do. But people kept saying, no, I want to know what would you pick? What side did you pick? So we've changed it a little bit. And this is the side that I would pick. This isn't the side I think Omar Rhys will necessarily pick. This is the side I would pick for this game. And I'll go into the kind of reasons for it. So I'd keep the 4-2-3-1. I think it's working well. No need to change it. I'm going Alnwick in goal. I'm going Rinamoto at right back, even though he did look a bit leggy and a bit tired and he didn't have his best game. He's been so consistent, and I think he's been a big part of the improvement of form. So I'm going to stick with him for this game at right back. Gutas, Darland, I think, had a bit of a knock on in the Millwall game. If he's out, then I've got no problem putting Will Fish in there. I think Will Fish did well in the FA Cup, and he did well when he came on against Millwall the other day. So I'm more than happy to slot him inside alongside Gutas if Darland is out. The left back is where I think people will disagree. And this is no reflection on Joel Bagan, by the way. Joel Bagan has been outstanding. He's been so unlucky to not start more games. And I believe that he's at the moment looking like the Cardiff City left back for the next 10 years. Absolutely superb. But you've obviously got Louis Giles coming through as well. And Bacon can play centre back as well, by the way. So I suppose one thing they could do is if Darland is out, they could shift Bacon inside to play left centre back. Would not have an issue with that. However, I'm going to go with Ollie Tanner at left back because I believe that we're the home team. Derby are bang out of form. We need to be aggressive and we need to stretch the pitch, make it really wide and push their wing backs back to create space for the likes of your Robertsons and people like this. Then in the double pivot, I'm going with Callum Chambers and Alex Robertson. So they're my two. On the right-hand side, Keane Ashford. On the left-hand side, I'm going to stick with Chris Willock. It's very, very close, but I'm going to stick with Willock because I think he took a lot of confidence from that really good goal on Tuesday, and he looked really, really good in the summer. Is O'Dowd back? If O'Dowd is back, that would change my team because I'd probably bring him back in at left back. For the same reason, I'd play Tanner at left back. I want us to be super aggressive. So I play Willock because he likes to cut in and he picks up real nice pockets of space and link up with the midfield and, look for those little through balls, look for the shots. And that creates a space for your left back. And I just feel one of the things that Joel Bagan will need to work on in this system for particular games, particularly home games, is to go forward and overlap and create the width for us so that we can pin teams back by going with more of a in-possession formation of like 3-2-5 or whatever to really push teams back. So I would go with, if O'Dowd is out, I'm going Tanner at left back and Willock at left wing, Ashford on the right, and then I'm putting Ruben in a 10. I know people will disagree with that, but there's a reason, which I'll explain in a minute. And then Callum Robinson up front. What is good to see is that we've got depth. Now, Siopis was a bit poor on Tuesday, but he's been very good since Chambers has made that switch into midfield. So he's a good option off the bench or probably pushing for a start. Perry NG looked much better on Tuesday. He's pushing for a start. Then you've got, Ruben, who's been playing. I think he did all right on Tuesday. People will say, he didn't do this. He could have come away with 2 assists in the first half, but for the finishing. If you also look at his work rate, outstanding again. He also, I said this a few times, but if you look at his stats, he wins the ball back the most out of our attacking players throughout the season, which is, again, a real good trait to have if you want to be aggressive in the press at home. So my planning and my thinking with it is you want to try and really get at Derby. They play a 3 at the back. You want to make that a 5. So you have Tanner pushing up on the left. You have Ashford pushing up on the right. You have Ruben and Willock becoming like dual 10s almost around Robinson, with Robinson occupying the centre-backs. And you want to get Willock or Colwell, depending on who takes up what space at any given time. So you've almost got 2 up front occupying those centre-backs, pinning them back, and then Alex Robertson coming from deep to be that ball player, that creator, that playing through the lines. And if they want to be really aggressive, Rinamoto can invert and slot into the midfield to make it a kind of, like a 2 and a 2 and all these different things, of course, tactically. That's what I would go with. Tell me why you think I'm wrong, or tell me if you agree. Tell me what your 11 would be. I just want us to be aggressive. I want us to be aggressive in the press, and I want us to be aggressive in the way we move the ball. I want to move the ball quick. I want to create width, and I want to pin Derby back and get at them, because with their level of confidence, Derby are going to be really, really, really low on confidence. There you are. Lewis says there, Ruben's got the 3rd most successful dribbles in the league too. So my thing with Ruben at the moment is he's become the kind of new scapegoat, and I don't like that. Now, if you think he shouldn't start or he shouldn't be the guy, that's not a problem. And one of the reasons why I think people kind of saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be playing," and it's because of how good Alex Robertson's been, and I accept that fully. Alex Robertson, as I've said many times, enjoy him while he's here because he ain't going to be here long. He's a phenomenal player. He's 21, superb. I want energy. I want quality, and I want creativity. Ruben gives you creativity. We always create chances when Ruben Colwell's on the pitch. So what you need around him is players to link up with, which will be the Robertsons, the Chambers, the Willocks. You need width and pace with runners in behind, which is your Ashford, Tanner, Robinson. Yeah? So that's my plan. But you've got options, man. Options at the moment are insane. So with that in mind, you've got El Ghazi, who can come off the bench, potentially Will Fish. You've got, Louis Giles was on the bench the other day. I don't think he'll be on the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if Rambo's on the bench tomorrow because he's going to travel with the squad anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised. Luke Pearce, Salic. Still got Salic to come in when he's fully fit. And, could we be really aggressive? Here's another thought process for you. How about we take our pressing shape, which is a 4-4-2. So when the other team's got the ball, we go into a 4-4-2 shape. And Robertson, so recently it's been Robertson and Robinson. That's kind of two, and they go and hunt the ball. Yeah. Well, how about Omar Rhys goes, do you know what? Derby are there for the taking. It's a home game. Let's get at them. Let's go 4-4-2. So let's go Rena Motor. Let's go Bagan left back. Let's go Darland and Gutas. In the midfield, we'll go Chambers and Robertson. On the right wing, we'll go Keane Ashford because he does the work. On the left wing, we'll go El Ghazi because he's more of a traditional winger. And then up front, or you could go Tanner, El Ghazi or Tanner because they're both wingers by trade, or even O'Dowda. But traditional winger in a 4-4-2. And then let's go Yusuf Salic and Callum Robinson. You give Salic an hour. Do you know what I mean? That is exciting. That is exciting. But what I'm liking at the moment is the options off the bench. You've got Pearce, you've got Rose, you've got Salic, and will Rose come back inside? The options are incredible. You've got the youngsters in Pearce and Louis Giles. And interestingly, today there was a few names omitted from the under-21s team, which might have caught some people's eyes, certainly caught my eye. Luke Pearce was missing, Louis Giles was missing, and Perrott was missing. So, whilst Ramsey is training again, he's nowhere near match fit. I'm sure he'll go and do some stuff with the 21s. So it would be interesting to see, let's assume by the rumours that are going round that Meite's not in the squad, do you add in a Perrott from the 21s? That would be interesting. We'd like to see that. Louis Giles was on the bench the other day. Luke Pearce was on the bench. That would be really interesting. For the Millwall game, right, our bench was Keane Ashford, El Ghazi, Will Fish, Louis Giles, Halverth, Perry Ng. I think I might be looking at the wrong game. No, I am looking at the right game. Sorry. Luke Pearce, Joe Rose, and Yusuf Salic. That is a bench. That is a bench, right? We've got options. So, what do you go with? How do you get a Derby? I believe that Derby is there for the taking. It's certainly interesting. The key man for me for Cardiff, Alex Robertson or Callum Chambers, but I'm going to go for a more attacking option. Alex Robertson, being superb, technically proficient, energy, aggression, plays really good balls through the lines, wins the ball back high up the pitch. Just an all-round good footballer. And I tend to think if he has an excellent game, Cardiff will have an excellent game. He's kind of one of them players. But I got to be honest, right? I just hope that we don't go, for instance, and it's nothing about the individuals. It's just I hope we don't end up with this team. It's like Perry and G at right back, Bagan left back, Siopis, Chambers, Meite on the wing. It'll be really underwhelming because I believe now we have some really exciting options. And this is the game where you utilise those exciting options from the start. I wouldn't be disappointed if Yusuf Saleh starts, but I want to see, I wouldn't be disappointed if El Ghazi starts. I think in some ways I could make an argument to start El Ghazi over Willock on the right. Obviously, Alex Robertson was ill the other day for the Millwall game, so it does depend on like how much is that taken out of him and stuff like that. Another thing which is interesting from a tactical point of view is because they play 3-5-2. Sometimes managers like to match up teams. Do we match them up? We've used 3-4-2-1 quite effectively, and again, we got the players to do it. You could go, I don't know, Gutas, Darlin, Bagan as your three. You could go Chambers, Robertson as your pivot. You could go Rinamoto as the one wing back, or even go Kean Ashford as one wing back. O'Dowda or Tanner as the left wing back. I'd be tempted actually to go with Ashford as a right wing back if we went to a 3. Ashford right wing back, Tanner left wing back, and then the same 3 midfield. Or actually, well, you got Robertson, Chambers, and then I'd play Ruben and one other off Robinson, or you play Robinson and Ruben off Salic. Like, do you know what I mean? Suddenly we've got a lot of options tactically, positionally, and I'm excited by it. And ultimately then what you've got to do, people like Ruben, people like Willock, who haven't been starting as many games recently, who else? Your Mates or whatever, like El Ghazi, they've got to earn their right in the team. They've got to earn their place. NG's got to earn his place back in the side because Rinamoto's been so good. You don't just get to come straight back in because you're X. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying and how much you disagree with me, because I know people will disagree with the team I just said. Let's have a look. JT said he wouldn't put money on us starting fast. It took us 30 minutes to get going against the Jacks. Indeed. Paul says, even side, I think we'll win 3-0, but we also now seem to play to our strengths. We ain't strong at building from the back, but these tweaks in the midfield have helped. Yeah, it's round pegs in round holes, mate. The one thing which annoyed me a little bit on Tuesday was I felt we went long ball, whereas what I think we've done recently with the tactical tweak is we've gone direct long passes, whereas on Tuesday I felt like we were just lumping the ball up too much. Not all the time, but too much. And every time we got the ball down and played properly, we played through Millwall with relative ease, So I want to see us, play over the press, be quite direct in the passing, and then play our football in their half. Fine with that, but make sure it's long passes, not just lump it up, because we don't have the players for that. And it's boring to watch as well. Dan Lowe says, I'd like to see El Ghazi start tomorrow. He looked up for it. Yeah, I'm a big believer as well, is if you see a player like that who is really, really gifted technically, he's incredible on his day. How much ability that guy's got. When he turns up off the bench and shows you that attitude, that motivation, that quality, the quality as well, not just the attitude and the work rate, it's the quality that he showed and the strength and the ability and everything. I'm a big believer in rewarding that with a start the following game. So I wouldn't be disappointed if El Ghazi starts whatsoever, but it would be a big call when you've got Tanner's in form, Willock's coming off the back of a good second half performance on Tuesday. If O'Dowda's back, could you put O'Dowda at left wing and Bagan at left back? So it's a big call, but I would not be disappointed to see El Ghazi starting tomorrow, especially if he can produce another similar performance from the start. Dan also says, looks as thought he had an injury, might have been holding him back slightly. Yeah, maybe, mate. You never know, do you? Players play with knocks all the time. And you never know the impact it might be having on them game to game. Paul says, when Willock gets a good run in the side, I think he'll come good. It's taking him time to settle in. It isn't always easy. No, it's not, mate. New area, new city, new fans, everything. It's difficult. And he hasn't, let's be honest, he's only shown what he's capable of in glimpses. He hasn't been consistent enough, and it probably hasn't been good enough. But yeah, look, it is what it is. Paul says, when are we getting confirmation that Mate's left? So on the Mate thing, the last I heard, that was the board were going to make a decision whether it was going to be like a mutual thing or they were going to try and sell him. Personally, I'm of the belief that if someone has got like a negative feeling and they don't want to be at the club anymore, then you should try and move them on as quick as possible. He has only got like a few months left on his contract, so if he wants to leave, I'm sure they could come to some sort of agreement, like pay up half of it or something, and just let him go and find a club. But knowing our board, we'll probably say no, because we want to give you a new contract, or they want money for him. But you're not going to get money for him if ultimately, like a lot of the players who are out of contract, if someone was going to come in for him, a lot of them would have had inquiries or bids already because they're out of contract. But it's, for me, it'll be interesting. I know someone who I respect greatly within the media said to me yesterday that he doesn't think he'll leave before the summer just because they'll keep him for the numbers and the squad. But I think that's a mistake, because if we do end up in a genuine relegation battle, I don't think you want any people in and around the squad on a daily basis who don't want to be there and aren't up for the fight and not happy, because those negative feelings, they spread quick, you know. There's nothing against him as anybody, like, just if when you've got a dressing room and there's like someone who's moaning or negative, it just brings everyone down. And if you're in a relegation battle, you need people up for the battle, not moaning. Yes, I know I got ruined. Got confused with ruined sellers. Come on, guys. It's not very often I make a mistake. Sue says, Rhys has said hopefully 2 or 3 in a pipeline. Yeah, it's interesting. So in the summer, people who are watching the channel back then will remember I gave the club a lot of credit because they cut a lot of the leaks out. So we weren't really finding out about stuff. I wasn't getting stuff until almost the day of deciding or the day before. Sometimes it was really like, it wasn't like traditionally like before where you'd get stuff like while they were first talking to him, and you could almost follow the deal behind the scenes. They did well in the summer of keeping things really, really quiet and keeping a lid on those leaks. I'm hoping that that's what they're doing again, because at the moment I'm hearing very, very little in terms of signings. But that, like I said, even with Salic recently, you know, we only found out lunchtime the day it kind of became public knowledge. So let's hope they're just keeping it quiet. I'm happy with that. Like, for me, it's interesting because obviously for me, like, it's beneficial to have information and hear what's going on. I like that, but also I really like if the club stop the leaks, because it shows that they're taking it seriously and they're trying to be more professional, I guess. Paul says we have to stop conceding silly defensive goals. We have to be stronger and better in that area. Clean sheets are now important. Yeah, do you know what I think it is, mate? I don't think it's necessarily, in a lot of cases, a quality thing. I believe it's a concentration thing. If you look at the amount of late goals we've conceded this year, I think that's a concentration thing. So we need to be getting on that and be... so Jonathan says, Ebo Adams is far more crucial to them than Mendes-Lang. No, I agree with you, mate. He is. But it's very unlikely that he plays in his midfield position. If he was in the midfield, I would have probably had him as my key man, because he's vital to the way they play. He allows everything to tick, and he's also added a bit more of an aggressive streak to his game, where he gets forward a little bit and dictates play in the opponent's halves. But he's playing at centre back, mate, and he can do a job there. But he's not a centre back; he's a midfielder. And Mendes-Lang, he's really settled at Derby. I know he's really happy, and you know, he had some issues when he was here towards the end of his Cardiff career, and he's sorted that out, and he's doing really well, being pretty consistent for them as well, I'm led to believe. So Paul says, do you go with Reno or NG against Mendes-Lang? At the moment, I would go with Reno, just because he's been so consistent. You know, if Perry NG is at his absolute top best, then I would probably go with Perry. But he hasn't been at his best. He's looked a little bit rusty, although I did think he was better against Millwall. So it's one of them, isn't it? Lewis says O'Dowda back tomorrow. He apparently is too. That would be a big bonus because normally with a hamstring injury, it's a bit long. And that's the thing. So Jonathan says Ebo Adams has some of the best tackling and recovery records in the Championship. He does, mate. But tackling and recoveries in midfield is vastly different to playing centre-back. Because in the midfield, it's different angles. He's reading the game differently. He's anticipating everything differently. He's engaging in the tackle and the recoveries. It's a lot different to the centre-back. He's also going to have to worry about Callum Robinson going in behind him. So positionally, it's so different that he won't necessarily be able to transfer those tackling and recovery stats from the midfield area to the defence. Not saying he can't, but it doesn't necessarily correlate and transfer over, if you get what I mean. That's an interesting one. Jeff says I'd play Pierce instead of Ruben in the 10. I wouldn't start him there, mate, but I would be more than happy to see Luke Pierce get an opportunity off the bench and when Ruben or someone gets tired. I think people really underrate what Ruben Colwell brings. And like, I get it. Like, people think he should be a bit more ruthless and stronger physically and whatever, but like, we create so much more when he's on the pitch. We look more cohesive in the attacking areas when he's on the pitch. And like I said earlier about his tackling stats and stuff, he wins the ball back high up the pitch. I think defensively, he does a real good job. He just does it differently to what Alex Robertson does. I would like to see them both together with Chambers in there. I think that's our best three midfielders when they're at their best. Dan put his team up. He says he'd play Alnwick, NG, Darland, Gutas, Callum O'Dowda, Chambers and Rinamoto in midfield, El Ghazi on the one wing, Robertson in the 10, Ashford on the other wing, and Robinson. I don't hate that team, mate. For me, my only concern with that is there enough legs in the midfield with Reno and Chambers? And like I said, I think Perry's been very rusty. And one of the threats that Derby do have is that sort of left-hand side. So it'd be interesting, mate. Jonathan says, Rhys said Ramsey will play in the 21s before the first team to see how he gets on. Same with Isaac Davis, neither played today. Yeah, that's the best way to be, mate, isn't it? Just let them find their way back. Because the last thing you want from either of them, they're both out of contract as well. So the last thing they're going to want, and the club are going to want, and the fans want, is for us to rush them back, and then they pick up a muscle strain or something like that. And ultimately, we don't need to rush them back. As we just mentioned earlier on in the show, we've got options at the moment. Yeah, one of the under-21s went out on loan. Perrott was on the bench for the 21s. Still interesting, though, because he's definitely a starter. Jonathan says 4-4-2, pressure them from the off with their defence missing. Yeah, that's what I just think you've got to get at them early, mate, and be aggressive because they've got so many defenders out. They're playing midfielders in defence. So let's test them. Test them early. Get the crowd up as well. You know, if we start fast, both in terms of the press, moving the ball, tackling, everything's like aggressive, but, you know, not aggressive where you're going to get silly bookings and red cards. I mean, aggressive in that it starts fast. The crowd will be up for it then. And then if you get an early goal as well, the crowd will be with you all the way through the game and the crowd will be bouncing. And that's what you need. Alex put his team in. He says Alnwick in goal, Bagan left back, Darland, Gutas, NG at right back, Rinamoto and Siopis in midfield, Alex Robertson in the 10 with hang on. No. I think you got one too many players there, mate. Have you not? Oh no, you've put, sorry, I misread it. Rinamoto or NG at right back, Sayo, Alex Robertson and Rolsey with Ashford, Callum Robinson and Tanner as your front three. I don't hate that team, mate. And, you know, you've rested Callum Chambers. I think that's a big call because I think he's been integral to Cardiff's unbeaten run. He's also been integral to the other midfielders getting a bit more influence on the game. Paul says, depend on Robinson's illness, how much is taken out of him. Yeah, it's fair enough. Just don't know. There's a lot of viruses around at the moment as well. Jonathan's team. Let's have a look. He goes with Alnwick, NG right back, Darlin Kutas, O'Dowda left back, Tanner on the right, Chambers, Robertson, Willock on the left, and Salic and Robinson up front. He's gone all out. So I wouldn't normally, with that, the only one I really kind of disagree with, like I said about NG, is just a bit rusty. So it's kind of a toss of a coin for me with him and Rita Mota. Left mid, I'm not sure if Willock's got the work rate for it. So I'd probably switch him out for Ashford, actually. I'd play Ashford off the left, or play Tanner on the left and Ashford on the right is what I would do. But although, if you play Tanner, if you played Ashford on the left where he's looking to cut in, you've got O'Dowda who can overlap then as well. So, Graham says, don't we need to shift some out to get some more in? I mean, Omar Rhys has said publicly that we don't necessarily need to move people out to get people in. He'll just drop them from the squad, the ones he doesn't need. But I think it's not realistic, that isn't. So either he's just playing the game, or it's a bit of naivety, because you can't, you just can't. It's not sustainable. Certainly not if you're going to be in a relegation battle. I would imagine one or two leave, to be honest with you. There's a couple who are not really playing. There's a couple who are not happy. There's been a bit of interest in Callum Robinson. I'll have some more details on that in the rumour mill on Tuesday, but hopefully then nothing comes of that. I think they're going to have to make a decision on some of these contracts soon, ultimately. Sue says, is Darlin coming in injury? Yeah, he got a knock against Swansea, and then I think he was ill coming into the Millwall game. I think they should have rested him for the Millwall game and given Fish a go, but maybe they felt there was already too many changes. I'm not sure. Fair play to him for playing, but hopefully he hasn't done any damage and he can just recover. But again, if he's not 100% or he's feeding it for tomorrow, I'm not too upset if we put Joel Bagan into the left centre back, or even play Fish. I'm happy with either. So yeah, it is what it is, right? As I look to wrap up, let's have a look. Graham says he'd go with Salic up front and Robinson in the 10. Paul says Siopis came back against Millwall after illness and was off it. Yeah, he struggled a bit, didn't he? Jeff says he'd play Alex's team against Leeds. Interesting. Jonathan says Ashford, the one thing is lacking is his crossing. Willock's delivery is far better, and that ball needs to go into the box for Salic. It does, which is why I would play Tanner on the left and I play Ashford on the right, or you could go with El Ghazi as well. My thing with that Willock is he's not really a winger. He's more of like an inside forward. He's probably a 10, let's be honest, but he's more of like an inside forward looking for the pockets of space. I can't see him, beating the fullback and putting a cross in. Tanner's, probably the best option. And what I admire about Keane Ashford is on Tuesday when he came on against Millwall, I thought he was excellent on the ball. And then he was just at the final moment, his final ball, crossing. He was a bit unlucky with a couple that bobbled. But he's just got to be a bit more clinical with that cross or that final pass. But I love the way that a couple of times he sliced across and misplaced the pass, that final ball, but he just kept getting it and running at that fullback, and he just had that fullback on toast. Fullback just couldn't live with him. And the other reason I would go with Ashford and Tanner as the wingers in a 4-4-2 is they give you what you want going forward, but they also give you what you want going back, especially in a 4-4-2. Don't hate a 4-4-2, man, mate. Don't hate it at all. So, prediction for the game tomorrow, and Cardiff City will win 3-0. I think Callum Robinson will be the first goal scorer. I also believe it's going to be a fun one. Derby have the potential to fall apart if we get a couple of early goals. But I also believe that Derby, as a team who are bang out of form, will look at this game as a game they can win, which makes them dangerous because even though they're low on confidence, if we let them settle and we let them get into the game by us starting slow or, bit of sideways passing, that's where it could be a problem for us. So it's very important, in my opinion, that we start fast, we put them under pressure, we get that early goal, because then I think they have the potential to crumble. We just don't want to let them settle. Don't let them settle. Don't let them play their game, and don't let them believe they've got a chance. I know it sounds simple, but that's honestly how I feel about it, But look, it is what it is. We shall find out tomorrow. Very much looking forward to it. Come on, the Bluebirds. Matthew and one of Rhys or Rob will be back tomorrow night. I don't know which one of us is going to join Matt, because Rhys is ill. So it's whether he's up to it and he's feeling well. If he's not, Rob will stand in for him. I shall be back on Sunday with the breakdown, as well as doing Rhodri gigs on football over on Ace Podcast Nation. If you want to check that out and talk about some more football, it's on 7 till 8 before the breakdown starts at 8 o'clock. We'll have a range of videos and all that sort of stuff. We'll have different things. We also have out for the members, which I'm going to put up immediately after this show, is a members only retro watch along. Myself and Paul Abandonato rewatched the South Wales derby we watched the extended highlights of the South Wales derby from 2011, which Cardiff won 1-0 at the Liberty Stadium. And we just talked about that, talked about the time. It's really cool concept, really enjoyed it, really interesting. So if you're a member, check that out after this. It's going to be slightly different. So I will post the link in a post. It won't be on the members video section. If you're not a member, please do sign up. You get loads of exclusive content, You also get 24 hours early access to tickets. Hoping that by the middle of next week, we'll be announcing that next live event with a City legend. We also, don't forget that Wednesday night next week, we start the first radio show on Cymru Sport. 7 till 8 is the Cardiff City World phone-in hour, where you can phone in, you can have chat, you can say what you think. We'll have guests, among other things. And then 8 till 9 will be the Welsh Football Hour, where we will talk about whatever comes up. Anything Welsh football related, EFL clubs, Welsh League, grassroots, Welsh national team, whatever it may be. We've got a couple of guests for that as well. It's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. But of course, I really appreciate it if you guys can support that. It's a new venture, not something I've done before. Really looking forward to it. Really excited by it, I've got to be honest. And I'm delighted to reveal to you guys now that it will also be live streamed on Cardiff City World. So we will be doing the show, obviously, on the radio, but the video version of it live will be on Cardiff City World, both 2 hours of it. So delighted that they've allowed us to do that. We'll also be live streaming to the Cymru Sport Facebook page as well. But yeah, that was cool of them. They didn't have to do that. So I appreciated that massively. So the Flower Hour will be moving to Tuesdays, just so you know. If you're not a member, become a member if you can. Helps us produce all the content we get. As I say, you get that 24 hours early access to tickets. You get the retro watch-alongs with special guests. You get the member show on a Monday, which is a bit of a free-for-all, and we just talk about whatever. Not always Cardiff City and not always football-related. And then also you can... we get the Rumour Mill podcast during the transfer windows, which is all the things that I hear about transfers and behind the scenes and all that sort of stuff. You can join through the YouTube channel, Cardiff City World, just press join, or you can join through patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. QR code's in the corner. Like I said, it's difficult to put into words how much every single membership helps us. Like, it's massive. So appreciate everyone who's joined already, and obviously appreciate anyone who joins in the interim. It's cool. We've got lots of stuff planned, lots of stuff coming, lots of videos coming. I want you to let me know what you thought of the retro watch along as well, please. Guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. Keep the faith, and I will see you Sunday. The boys will see you tomorrow. Take care.